Good morning, good morning, good
Good
morning,
morning.
Reverend
Good morning.
Marcia. Thank you so much, and to all of the further Aglowers for inviting
Yeah.
me to be in community with you today.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be with kinfolk. So it's so good when we come into our tribe, wherever we are in the world, and I can just tell from the welcome and the orientation that I am amidst my people. So I thank you for having me. Um, there's so much that I want to say, but I want to start off with a story. And I hadn't intended to do this, but the Spirit has moved me in this way. And so I'm just going to lean in. I was with my mother in love and my mother this week, both of whom I have not seen since the beginning of the pandemic. And they flew in for the birthday of my youngest child. And we were talking about soul encounters. And I was led to share the experience that I had when I was about 17 years old. I was a freshman in college, and my spiritual teacher, I grew up in a meditative community, a meditative Black community, founded in the late 1960s. And my mother is currently pastor of that community. At the time, she was the minister of music, though, and we did all of the many things that you find in non-traditional or non-denominational Christian churches. But what was distinct about us was a deep orientation to meditation and an emphasis on having a personal covenant with the God of our understanding, right? And working that relationship and working it through meditative connection. And so I grew up with that as my context, but I still didn't get what all this meditation was about. I was quiet. I did all of the things that, everybody else was doing. And my mama said that that's how we heard God. So I would be like this. I was waiting to hear, right, the messages. And it sort of didn't work like that for me. But the adults seemed to get something that I didn't. And so there I was. I went off to college. And when I came home for winter break, our spiritual teacher, Reverend Dr. Leon Edward Wright, had me at his house. And he told me, he said, look, I want you to read a very important book. I want you to read The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, right? And I said, yes, sir, I'll do that. And then I went off. I went back to college. I got the book because he said that I should. And I read it and I fell in love. Right. I fell in love with this path of having personal relationship and engaging meditation, really, and not because I inherited it from my spiritual community and not because my mother said so, but because I was clear that this was a path for me to experience the divine within, to experience Christ consciousness in this incarnation and existence. And so there I was. I spent 3 weeks, you all. I want you to hear me. 3 weeks I was dedicated. Every day I sat down to meditate every day. Now, this is something, I'm a freshman in college. I could be doing other things. Right? And while everyone else was doing other things, I went to class and I came home and I meditated and meditated, meditated, meditated. And I had monkey mind, right? I just couldn't calm my thoughts. I didn't connect. The book said that things were supposed to happen a certain way, and that was not my experience. Things did not happen in that way, and I wasn't able to make contact. And I decided I was going to quit. That this was just a bunch of hokum, right? Nice book of propaganda, but it wasn't really real, right? And if it was real, it wasn't real for me. And one night I decided I'm done. This isn't real. And I went to get up. I had given it my best effort for 3 whole weeks. I just have to crack up at that now, having lived 30 years beyond that. But I gave it my best effort. But I was genuine in my yearning. How many of us have ever been there where we were genuine in our yearning and where we were clear about our intent? And so there I was, genuine and heartbroken that I could not and did not experience the divine in the ways in which I had anticipated and imagined. And I decided I'm going to quit. And I got up off my bed, got out of lotus position, and the force said, uh, uh, uh. No, 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 no. I am real. I am real. And I experienced the most expansive light of my life. And it was right within, was right within me. And it held me, and I couldn't shake it. Opening my eyes didn't make it go away. Getting up out of the bed, moving around, it said, no, 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 I am you. I am with you. Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are we going? And it just kept taking me deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into a state of awareness that didn't have the boundaries and the demarcations, and the distinctions that I was used to. It was vast and infinite and bottomless. And it was me. And it was more than the me that I had sensed myself to be. And it stayed with me. And all I could do was cry, because it was so intense and it was so real. And I was so overcome. I was so overcome. And then I got scared when I settled and I couldn't find the bottom. I couldn't find an end. And I thought, if I keep going, I don't know whether or not the me, as I understand myself, will be able to reconstitute itself. And in my fear, I disengaged. Now, how many of us have ever done that? Perhaps it is in a different way, right? It's not necessarily sitting in lotus position in a dorm room, but in our fear, in the seeking, when we encounter the thing we seek, and we come to find out that it is home, that sometimes our conditioning might get in the way, but it was enough for me to have been imprinted, to know that I know that I know, whatever comes, whatever happens, that this is real. And I got up off I left my dorm room, and I ran to the end of the hall where we had pay phones. None of this phone in your room. We had pay phones, and I put the money in, and I called my mother at 3:00 in the morning, and I was crying, and I was a babbling mess. And of course, I scared her, because, when your child calls from college and is crying at 3 in the morning, you assume something bad has happened. And she said, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I said, I met God. And she said, "You what?" I said, "I met God." And she said, "Oh, whew, all right." Now tell me about it. Tell me about it, right? This is a woman who at that point had been meditating 40 years. And it was wonderful. I offer that up as the sort of seed for this journey about crossing the inward sea, making contact with the soul within. It was my deep desire to make contact, right? To make contact with the divine of my understanding, contact with the divine that I had been taught was real. It was that deep desire that got me started in this journey in terms of my own intentional relationship. And so I want to anchor us in this opportunity to engage that which is at our core, which of course is a fundamental bedrock of this particular spiritual community. I'm inspired by my own life experience, but I'm also inspired by the wisdom and the teaching of others, specifically Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, right, who is a revered theologian and philosopher and author and educator and civil rights leader. And many of you might know this. He had many books, but in his book, Meditations of the Heart, he presented 54 transformative meditations on a variety of spiritual practices, from everything from compassion to grace to love and openness and peace and silence. And but the one that really stands out for me is the way in which he honors the presence of the God within, right? When we start talking about embracing the Christ within, embracing the God within. And he wrote this: "There is in every person an inward sea, and in that sea an island. And on that island there is an altar, and standing guard before that altar is the angel with the flaming sword. Nothing can get by that angel to be placed upon that altar unless it has the mark of your inner authority. Nothing passes the angel with the flaming sword to be placed upon your altar unless it be a part of the fluid area of your consent. This is your crucial link with the eternal. All right, so Howard Thurman just put it so beautifully, more eloquently than I believe I could. But there is in every person an inward sea, not just in the lucky ones, not just in the spiritual ones, not just right in the virtuous ones, but in all of us. In all of us, there is the sacred, there is the holy, and it is waiting for our conscious connection. Of Thurman's insights, Reverend Dr. Barbara Holmes, one of our foremost contemporary theologians, writes, Thurman's metaphors emphasize mystical aspects of the journey inward, but they also focus on the free will decision to embark. So we're going to talk about intent and consent as we move forward. To my mind, she writes, the most promising aspect of the description is the impenetrable sanctity of the inward sea. This island is a bastion of interiority, a safe space to encounter God. Now, and then she goes further, external oppression, which is we are no stranger to. External oppression may defeat the body and perhaps even the mind, but the inner sanctum will not be breached without consent. I often wonder, what is it that made it possible for my ancestors to endure the sky falling? What made it possible for them to survive swinging from trees and being forced to live life on their knees without destroying themselves and others? Because that was not their disposition, even in the midst of the horror. And what occurs to me is that we are a people of faith. We are a people of spirit, right? What made it possible is that my ancestors knew about the inward sea and managed to cross it with intention regularly as not only a key part of their survival, but their ability as cultural alchemists, those who could take the dross, the very basis of human of human dispositions, and could transmute it into the highest heights of meaning, faith, and love. They could not do that without an awareness of the inward sea. They could not do that without conscious contact with that which is at the seat of their beings. So I'm struck by this and recognize it as a part of our cultural inheritance, right? That this didn't just spontaneously generate out the ether, that this is a part of the legacy that we have been handed down. So both Holmes and Thurman's insights suggest, if taken to their natural conclusion, that this sea, this interior territory of the soul, is the very seat of our liberation. It is an inner space that requires your intent to access and your consent to engage. Requires our intent to access, it requires our consent to engage, and it holds the full truth of our being. The full truth of our being, not the distortions and all of the ways in which we've been conditioned and or socially programmed to understand who and what we are. But that which is real, that which is most true, that which is most authentic. And that is kept protected by the guardian of the sacred. And who is that guardian? Who is the angel that Thurman mentions? I would suggest that it is, in fact, the very essence of our being. The essence of our being, the essential self. the divine seed, the cosmic seed that is the core of who and what we are. What we are doing when we cross that inward sea is we are seeking a relationship with the vastness of our being. And when we seek relationship, that's an initiation of a sort. So this crossing the sea is an act of initiation where we are initiating intentional relationship with the vastness of our being, the more than that we are. And in the process, what happens is that our egos become transformed as a result of the encounter with our souls. In fact, our egos become agents for soul. Now, when I talk about ego, I want to mention here that ego growth and soul embodiment and spirit realization are equally vital to growing whole. So who is the I that crosses the inward sea? Right? It's my ego. And in this case, I want to go to the Latin root of that word, where it simply means I in Latin. And so I don't use ego as it's come to be used in its popular sort of cultural context where it is synonymous with selfishness or self-importance or fixation or a vanity or conceit. I really mean it in the way that Bill Plotkin, our inspirational writer today, frames it as our everyday conscious self. Right? It's not an enemy. It's just our everyday conscious self, our everyday consciousness. It's the conscious self while it's in its normal everyday state. So much of what we do is an effort to experience the exaltation of consciousness, right? But this is just the everyday, I'm driving to the car, I'm dealing with the kids, I'm going to work, I'm doing just the everyday. It is the consciousness that is engaged deeply in the management of life. So here, though, we understand then that the ego is but an aspect of a larger self. Right? A larger self that is us, that cares about more than the management of life, that is in fact the vastness of life. And yet we experience ourselves as a fraction of what we are in any given moment, in any given day. Now, when I talk about the larger self, what is it that I'm meaning? I mean the soul within. And I'm making a distinction between my everyday consciousness and the soul that I am, because the soul is so much vaster. It is far more expansive than my conscious mind. It encompasses many qualities of which I might not be aware and may never be fully aware in the way in which we're taught that awareness exists. So there is my conscious mind, and then there is the vaster territory of my soul being, which is marked by what Bill Plotkin calls a wild otherness. Why? Because it is beyond what we can create, control, or possess. It is not, however, beyond what we can be and are, but it is not to be controlled. Right? And as we delve into the mysteries of our souls, we discover our core powers, and we can learn to integrate them into our daily choices, into our daily actions, and dare I say, into our daily consciousness. Right? So that the boundaries between conscious mind and soul can and do dissolve. Bill Plotkin further echoes Thurman's understanding in his book, Soulcraft, which Reverend Marzia read to us an excerpt of that. But I want to go back to that each of us is born with a treasure, an essence, a seed of quiescent potential, secreted for safekeeping in the center of our being. This treasure is ours to develop. It's ours to embody, and it's ours to offer to our communities through acts of service, our contributions to a more diverse, vital, and evolved world. Our personal destiny is to become the treasure. Through our actions, right? It's to become that. So we cross the inward sea in search of the treasure that we are. Now, the guardian, again, is our soul. It is the keeper of our truth. And it is a spiritually entangled self that is inextricably linked to our egos while we are alive. Inextricably intertwined. It replicates every move of our egos, every move of our conscious mind, whether or not we are aware of its presence. It is what I call the divine companion, which always responds to changes in and actions by us. It is always aware of us, and not just aware of what's happening on the surface of our beings, but it is aware of what is happening in the depths and the breadths of our being. And it uses this awareness, this companionship, not to judge us, because we're so often conditioned to believe that its principal purpose is judgment and critique. No, 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 no. It is a companion with us because it meets us in our life experience. It meets us in those experiences. It resources our changes and our growth. It co-creates with us our actions. And it is there to provide constant support and succor to our conscious selves, no matter what state or condition or consciousness we might occupy. It is always there. It is always in position and always responds to and reacts to what is happening in us. It goes through what we go through. I imagine you remember the footprints in the sand, right? When there was only one set of footprints, where were you? Well, look, it was me. I was carrying you, right? It goes through what we go through, recording and experiencing every jot and tittle of our lives. And it is always accessible to us, though it does not require our ego's awareness, attention, acknowledgement, or acceptance in order for it to be. But oh, how it delights in our reaching for it. For we are reaching for the vastness of ourselves. We are seeking to embrace the fullness of what we are. And our reaching indicates a readiness to be more fully. We are coming home to ourselves. But the price of admission to coming home is our attention. Our attention, and dare I say, our intention. And because it is a free will universe, our consent. Thurman says, life abounds in all variety of resources and resourcefulness. Every moment is a divine encounter. Every facet is an exposure to the boundless energies by which life is sustained and our spirits are made whole. So here we are again at the interiority of being, at the essence of ourselves, not just at the expressions of ourselves. And the inward sea is the liminal space between our ego and our essence. The liminal space between the everyday consciousness and the vast territory of being that each and every one of us are. So I'm going to stop here because Reverend Marzia told me I had 20 minutes and I'm at 22. So I'm going to stop right now in honor of the timing that we have. But I'm reminded of a saying that we had in my home church when I was growing up, that God is in me, with me, through me, and for me. And where God is, there can be no imperfection. God is in me, with me, through me, and for me. And where God is, there can be no imperfection. May each and every one of us make the time with intent to cross the inward sea, to go to the territory of our being, the very seat of our soul, so that we might have an encounter with the essence of ourselves, that we might engage the essence of ourselves regularly, daily even, and come to know the truth of ourselves and to live that truth in all of our relationships, in all of our settings, in all of our work, and come to narrow, diminish, and ultimately eliminate all sense of separation, from what we truly, truly are. Ashe, thank you. I open up the floor for some good conversation.
Oh, thank you so much, Minister Rebeccah. Oh, that was a mouthful, a belly full, all part of us full today. I mean, that was a deep dive. Wow, thank you so much. So we open the floor now to any questions, suggestions, any ahas, any yabats into this. I know this is huge. Reverend Abba been grinning from ear to ear. Patricia been grinning from ear to ear. Right, true. So I see your mic open, Miss Patricia. Go ahead.
Minister Bennett, thank you very much. I am excited. Aside from the lady that's next to you, okay, first of all, I can relate to the beginning where you say you grew up because of who your mother was. Well, right next to you on the screen is my mother. And she has been in this process for a long time. So as I've told the other members in the community, I too grew up, but just like you, I didn't know what it was. I was just doing it. And I began my own personal focus study. So all of that, now the thing that I have not, and what you introduced to me as a new way, is the inward seed, the interior of the soul. That concept was, it resonated, but I do know that I am not clear on that. And so I thank you for bringing that to me. And the enthusiasm that you shared across it really, even my cat sat down. He's sitting beside me, and at the beginning he was bugging me, and so I have to keep rubbing him. He just cooled down when he saw I was not there. And then one last thing, attention. And that was at the end of what you were saying. And I focus often on attention as I share with others, because that is the way that we get caught out there. And that is the way that we get caught in here. And so if we're not managing our attention, what we're doing and what's right before us, it will take us in ways and areas that will slow us down and put us in positions of non-movement. So I thank you very much, and I appreciate you, Reverend Mitchell, for bringing and looking at. I'm so glad you questioned for us, finding those individuals who will help us to learn. And I thank all of the members in the community for welcoming and allowing us to be together.
Can I just say,
It's your pleasure.
This is phenomenal. I have a meditation that goes with this. So I will send it to Reverend Marcia to share with you. It's a guided meditation, so you can read it, and it goes through the experience of crossing the inward sea. So you can, and what I would encourage you to do so that you can fully be in it is to read it and record yourself reading it, and then have the experience, right? So you read it out loud because it's meant to be read, and you record it, and then you play it as you meditate and settle and follow its steps, okay? So I have that as a practice for you. The second thing that I want to say is I want to put an exclamation mark on your emphasis on attention, because it has been my experience that wherever our attention goes, our energy flows, right? And energy is the only real currency of life. Current, right? Right? Wherever our attention goes, our energy flows. That it is what moves things from a state of cosmic potential into a state of manifestation is attention. It is literally the on switch, right? And if we don't give anything attention, if we don't give it presence, it does not move from the state of possibility into the state of manifestation. I wish more of us understood how powerful our attention is. And when we go, well, I'm not experiencing X, Y, or Z, one of the first things I'm asking is, are you present to it? Right? Are you present? Are you attending it? In the absence of that, it's not going to spontaneously generate, right? It literally needs us. We are co-creators, and we do so at the most fundamental level with attention. So thank you so much. And when you have attention and intention,
explosive, right? And you did say it's the price of admission to getting across to the island is attention, intention, and consent. Now, I know it's explosive when you add the attention to the intention, but do we really need all of those facets to actually get access? Or we can go with one maybe, or next time we bring along the other two, and next time do we arm ourselves with our gift in hand of all these together in order to actually get through the gate?
I would say, Reverend Marzia, that spirit meets us wherever we are. That there are no barriers. So we'll meet us where we are. If what we have to offer is attention, it will meet us in that. It is a matter of our own readiness, how much we experience, right? It is, am I coming to the sea with a thimble? Am I coming to the sea with a cup? Am I coming to the sea with a bucket? Am I coming to the sea as the sea?
Wow.
Right? So it is the differences it happen to be our own states of consciousness are what meet out our experience. Spirit is not in the habit of withholding from us, right? But we get to choose how much we drink. And the extent to which we drink moves with our own readiness, right? Our own understanding. And so attention is often what gets us started, right? That we notice that there is more to ourselves and there's more to life, right? So if we think about this, we might think about this developmentally, right? As developmental stages. So we often begin with attention because we are noticing and observing in us and around us that there is more, or that there is different or distinct from what we have been handed. And we are curious, right? We are curious. We want to get to that more. What is that about, right? And that's often where we get started. And then what happens is, as our curiosity gains purpose, that's when our attention and our intention align and track, right? Because it's not just open curiosity anymore. And there's nothing wrong with curiosity. I mean, look, all of human civilization is in many ways an expression of our curiosity as a species. But when that curiosity gains a purpose, I want to know, I want to feel, I want to be. Like when it gains that purpose, that's when we're squarely within the power of intention. And that is of a different order of magnitude, right? The wattage on intention is like, and then, right, we got attention and intention developmentally. We are moving, we are progressing, we are growing, particularly when we learn how to consciously engage both. But then this is a free will universe. We are not going to, that we are invited to consent, to agree. There are states and thresholds that we have to say, here I am. I'm ready. or I want this, right? Because it requires our agreement to move forward. Now, this is interesting because so many of our teachings talk about people being brought along even when they didn't want to. And that happens to a point. But there is a point at which we have to say, I am willing. I am willing, even if, right? And I think about Christ and his experiences, right? There is that point when you go, if it be thy will, let this cup pass by me. But, you know, okay, I'm gonna go, right? And I'm not quite sure, I'm gonna go, right? That is a consent to be, and that consent is an indication of our trust, and of our belief in the deep sovereignty of soul. So I like to think of it not as if soul is withholding from us, if the divine is withholding from us, but that there are stages in our development. And when we can live in that trust, always, then there's a different quality of experience of being that we have. Right? So that's my thinking. But I'm open to others' interpretation and understanding.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. That was good. Truly. And I see Reverend Alma's mic is open. Maybe she wanna add her bit. She's always, you know, when you hit on the point of the ego, she's always telling us that without the ego, we cannot tie our shoelace. There's nothing that we can do consciously without the ego. So I'm super thrilled that you expounded on the whole, you know, aspect and the whole inquiry on the ego, because we grew up knowing that, oh, you gotta stamp out that guy. Yeah, but now, yes. So that was fabulous. So Reverend Alma, you wanted to say?
Greetings to all. And we are blessed to have a Reverend Rebeccah nurture our souls this morning. As I speak twice a month, Reverend Mazia, I sent her into panic mode this week because I sent her my topic, because I thought that today was the fifth Sunday. I sort of living in the future, and then I thought, no, living in commitment, because my commitment is every other Sunday. And I remember when I speak, by the times that I speak, and I didn't speak last week, so this Sunday was the time that I was supposed to speak. And she, in her panic, she informed me that this was the fifth Sunday in the month. And then that's when I found out. But I'm so grateful for it, because you set the tone for my topic. And my topic for next week is the soul's call to freedom. So you set it for me to go into that and to expand on our soul. We don't know, we have not been taught. And my ministry of 40 years, of a continuous ministry of 40 years, I never spoke very much on the soul, because I suppose it wasn't time. I didn't understand it. I knew it was there. I didn't dig down into the how we get to our souls. And your analogy of the sea and the island was simply perfect. And because this was a free will planet, no more, because it was a free will planet, we still have to draw upon that energy of free will in order to get to the seat of the soul. I read books years ago and even recently on Gary Zukav's The Seat of the Soul. And I didn't understand it because everything is a personal experience. Like you said, you were not experiencing what they said that you were going to experience because your soul needed a different path. But when we set our intent, and I noticed your points, and I thought the most potent one was the intent. What do you intend? And when you sit down to meditation, what do you intend? And my intention is always to commune with the divine, to commune with my heart. And I look at my purpose is to express, simply to express that divine. And then I move into, well, Alma, are you trying to impress somebody, or do you want to express the divine? And that's when we move into, when we decide that we're going to express who we are naturally, that's when we move into the seat. That's when God works through us, in us, as us. And it is a personal experience. And just like you said, Reverend Rebeccah, we do have to prepare our mind for it. And because we come from an entitled society, and you do it for me society, I think it's automatic. But you impressed more than once, and you said more than once, you have to do it. It is your choice. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much for coming to this, for being willing to share in this community and carry on the ideas, the concepts that we have been supporting for 40 years. Thank you. God blesses you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much as my elder in this. I appreciate all that you have done in the course of your life, and all of the gifts that have come from that for so many, myself included, whether or not I know that, whether or not I was in direct relationship with you is neither here nor there. Your presence creates a path for so many of us. And so I thank you and I salute you and I offer a deep bow to you and your spiritual leadership, right? And as one who is a beneficiary of your presence, thank you so much, and your truth and your guidance.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to both of you, all of you. And I have
can I say one more thing? And this is a little off. Reverend Rebeccah, you talked about attention and the importance of attention. The whole marketing industry is based on your attention. I read a textbook entitled Attention Merchants. And so they spend a whole lot of time gathering people's attention to do whatever else is not allowing them to get to the seat. So I just wanted to put that out there. I am so grateful.
Wow. Yes, thank you. Great point, Patricia. And I wanted to, I know we're running against time right now, but one more thing before we close off this segment, Minister Rebeccah, is you said when you were in school and you experienced that place, it's like it was bottomless. There were no sides, no up, no down, no whatever. So when we cross the sea and we get there, I wasn't sure if I missed that part of your talk where you said, what do you do? I know you said you jumped up and you went to the phone to your mom, but when we're in that state, now that you've come out of it and you're consolidated and you're moving on and you're expanded, what would you say to someone now who have not gone beyond there? When you get into that place of unboundedness, let's say, what do you do? What do you do? Because it's that larger part of you now, and yes, it is frightening for many of us. So do you keep going? Do you stay there knowing that there's endless space, or do you get out and get back in, or what do you do?
You know what? I think one of the best ways to approach the what do you do is to come back to the basic frame that what we are seeking is relationship.
Okay.
Right. And what do we do in relationship? Right. When we encounter an other, in this case, it is the other, but there is no other. Right. Like, I mean, that's a part of what gets healed. What is getting healed is our sense of separation. Right. But we have to be in community. We have to be in relationship. And so I say, you know, just as when you are encountering someone who is new to you, right? Like, this is the deepest part of ourselves. It's the oldest part. It's an eternal part of ourselves. And yet to our conscious minds, to the everyday consciousness, it feels distinct or separate or different. So we do what we do when we're first in relationship. We lean in. We lean in and we say, hi, right? Hi, I'm Rebeccah. I'm Rebeccah. And it says, yes, my dear. And we can bring to it our curiosity, our question, our the truth as we understand it, and ask for feedback and reflection and guidance. You see, because this is our very own personal, like this, when we talk about the sort of God, we talk about God in such vastness. And I do not want to diminish what we call God in its vastness, but I do want to say that God is us and meets us in our flow. And so in this way, right, this becomes the opportunity to engage around what matters most to us, right? So we bring to it, just like you had us do in the meditation that you got us started with, right? So we could say, you know, I am here, I seek deep relationship. I seek to eliminate all sense of separation between my sense of self and my actual being, which is you, right? Help me, please. What is the way? What is the way? What would you have me to do? Right? What do I need to know? What are the aspects of being that will most enable and empower me? Right? Literally engage. Engage.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. That does it. Does
Right?
it? Thank you. You know, Reverend Alma always tell us to, you know, ask spirit, what color blouse am I to put on this morning?
Yeah.
What am I to have for dinner?
Yeah.
And like little questions like those.
Yeah.
However, you know, I was thinking that, okay, you're in this space, this vast space now. You should have some more important questions than what should I be wearing? Yes, but now you boil down to the same amount of gravy, Reverend Rebeccah. It's what should I put on this morning? What should I have for breakfast? Yeah. How should I style my hair today? Yeah, I have.
Right. And whatever is there, what if we're holding on to things that that have caused us harm and hurt or pain, right? We can get down to brass tacks. What do I do with this hurt? Right? What do I do with the wounding? Where is the healing that is mine? Where is the peace that passes understanding? Who am I? Reveal to me the fullness of who I am. Like, we can bring all of that, or we can simply be with it, right? We're so used to, you know, some of the best times in relationship sometimes isn't even when we're in communication, like talking, but just let me just experience. Let me notice. How do I feel? What am I feeling? And where am I feeling it as I am here with the one that I am? Right? Let me just notice. let me notice what activates in me, what vibrates in me, what tightens in me, right? And in my noticing, I may offer my noticing to my companion, the eternal companion. I notice that I'm frightened when I'm in the company of my vast self. I'm frightened, right? Take it all. We can take it all. We can take, literally, we can take it all, right? But we can come with an intent. My intent is to be one with what I am, is to dissolve any false sense of separation. Right? The value of the ego at its highest form offers distinction, not separation. But this is a culture which has conflated the two. And so the distinction has resulted in a profound sense of disconnection, alienation, isolation, separation from the divine. And that was never the intent, right? So in the material world, we are both particle and wave. And when we are particularized, it lends itself to a specific kind of experience, right? The particle has more what feels like boundary.
Right.
The wave, though, right, does not. And part of what's happening is we're changing form. We're literally transforming from a particularized state. This is Rebeccah. Rebeccah ends here. Into the wave expressions of who we are. The eternal that doesn't have a beginning and doesn't have an ending. So we are literally transforming, and we can do that at will. We can. Most of us have not learned how, but when we're in that inward sea, when we're asking, remove from me the sense of limitation, right? Like that then helps us change form. Right? Until such time as we can be that, right? God is in me, with me, through me, for me, as me. As me. And most of the spiritual masters that we have come to celebrate in our lives are ones for whom the sense of separation was no longer there in whatever tradition, right? They did the sense of separation from the divine. They had managed to dissolve that. That's a part of why we are so drawn to them. It's because they're representing to us a truth of being. They changed form.
Wow.
And we can too.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. Yes, we can. We can. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is so beautiful, so deep. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna invite you back one of these days. And now the time really got away from us. We're gonna truncate the next part of this. So we gotta say thank you, everyone, for your contributions to the discussion. Thank you, Reverend Rebeccah.